History gave us a lot to ponder on. We see the bigger picture of the past and we study it in the present. Evidences, artifacts, researches, census, all of these constitute history. Our continuous pursuit of the past occurrences comes hand in hand into a ripple effect. The Philippines Islands are abundant in resources and other islands. Miguel de Loarca's accounts are based on His Royal Majesty King Don Philip's order. His findings circled the different islands in the Philippines and the people living there, respectively, the form of government of the Spaniards and the natives, and the beliefs, customs, and practices of the Moros and Indians of the islands were illustrated in this book. Loarca's first settlement was the island of Cebu, which served as the starting point of the conquest of all the others, and then proceeded to Luzon and its neighboring islands thereon.
I am Arvin John F. Camarino.
I am Eunice Ramirez.
I am Matthew Dagman.
I am Jada Castillo.
I am Nina Cortez.
I am Samantha Closa.
I am Pia Apostol.
I am Gloria Agagon.
Chapter 1 is entitled Of the Island of Cebu and of Other Islands Under Its Jurisdiction. It introduces Miguel de Lopez de Legazpi, the Spanish navigator and governor who first settled in the islands of Cebu in 1564, and Miguel de Loarca, who was among the first Spanish settlers in the island. In June 1582, while Miguel de Loarca was in Arevalo, he wrote Relación de las Islas Filipinas. The island has 3,500 natives called the Indians. The principal villages are Jaro, Daraget, Peñol, Taramandik, Barile, Burungan, and Candaya. The Spanish inhabitants received 2 or 3 small villages along with the services of the Indians, fowl, and other maintenance. There were about 50 or 60 Spaniards, including the citizens and the soldiers residing in the Spanish town named Santísimo Nombre de Jesus. No, the island only produces small amount of rice, borona, millet, and little to no cotton. The cloths used by the natives are made from a kind of banana, and some cloths resembled colored calico, which they called as medriñaque. The alcalde mayor, who earns a salary of 300 pesos, 6 regidors are elected annually. There is also alguacil mayor who can be removed or replaced. There are also 2 alcaldes in ordinary and 1 notary from the cabildo and the public. It is the best parts of the islands, and that is the reason why Miguel Lopez de Legazpi settled there. This island is provided with fowls, swine, and few goats, beans, and kind of fruit that resembles potatoes of Santo Domingo, wherein the natives call this camotes. That's about it for the first chapter.
Chapter 2 is entitled On the Island of Panay and of the district under its jurisdiction. It entails about the census in every island of Panay. It is known as the most fertile out of all the islands discovered for having abundant sources of rice, swine, fowls, wax, honey, and numerous productions of cotton and mandranak. They are built close to each other. When the Spaniards would get sick, Panay served as a healthful and well-provisioned land where they could recuperate. The natives are healthy, clean, peaceful, and open to conversion. However, the people from Bohol were said to have caused a disease to the Panay natives. The natives stated that no one from them had ever been afflicted with buboes until the people from Bohol came. The governor of the island is Don Gonzalo Ranquillo. He also founded the town of Orvelo. The city also has 1 alcalde mayor, 4 regidors, 1 alguacil mayor, 2 alcaldes in ordinary, and 1 notary for the public and for the cabildo. Visayas. The island of Imaras has about 500. Cuyo has about 800. Latayas people were very poor and kept in slavery. Osigan has about 250. Dibuyan has about 300. Boracay has about 100. Anbil has about 50. Simara, or the Goats Island, has about 150. Sivay has about 70, Cagayan has about 400, while Similara has no documented population. That's everything about the Panay Island.
The third chapter is entitled Of the Island of Locon. It generally states that Locon is the most important island of the islands discovered. It is immensely populated and well provided with rich and gold mines, especially in the area of Ilocos. There are Manila, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, and Bataan. In Manila, the king has a fortress with its governor, 3 royal officers, 1 major, and 1 royal standard bearer, who leads an organization. They are all appointed by the king. There are also 2 alguacil mayors, 4 sheriffs of municipality, 1 government secretary, 1 notary of the cabildo, and 4 notaries public. Yes, there are Augustinian monks, and Manila has a cathedral church with its own bishop. They are Moros and Pintados. The Moros are Filipinos without tattoos because they are influenced by Christianity, and they are under the influence of Spanish friars. Pintados, on the other hand, are those who fully tattooed their own body. Tattoo symbolizes the bravery, honor, and might. That's the whole summary of chapter 3.
Chapter 4 is about the province of Camarines, the town of Caceres. It is generally about Caceres, a Spanish city in Camarines. It is located in the middle of Pasacao River and Nueva Caceres. It is abundant in gold mining sites too. They use gold and rice as their custom of paying tribute. Catanduanes Island is rich in palm trees and rice. The natives would turn it into wine and lambanog. The Lake of Libon, province of Albay, Bacuyan, Paracuel, and Marinduque Island are located here as well. That's the summary of chapter 4.
Is entitled Which Streets of the Province of Ilocos. This chapter focuses on the census and the source of income of the natives. The general census of the province of Ilocos is about 4,000, and all of its islands combined are 10,800. The people of this land are deemed to resemble the people of Zambales in terms of language and in clothing. However, the people of Ilocos are smarter since they are traders. They often trade with the Chinese, Japanese, Borneans, and natives of other lands. They used animals such as swines, goats, buffaloes, and rice for food.
Chapter 6 is about the Pintados Island. It mainly circles around the Pintados and their customs. Yes, the Visayans are referred to as the Pintados. They are also known for being healthy and brave. They also love to drink. When it comes to marriage, The natives should be married with natives similar to their ranks. Virginity is not a problem to them as well. And men can have several wives as long as they can provide support. Also, if the wife committed adultery, only the adulterer will be punished. The adulterer is punished by putting the genital in holes and placing it in a thin tube. After that, it will be fastened like a wheel. Circumcision represents good health and cleanliness for them, and having many offspring represents poverty. That's the gist of this chapter.
Chapter 7 is entitled, which treats the beliefs held by the natives of the Pintados Island concerning creation. Those who live along the coast are called the Iligoynes, and those who live in the mountains are the Tinyans. Not at all, they have different beliefs about the beginning of the world. The Iligoynes believe that heaven and earth had no beginning, whereas the Tinyans believe that the beginning was only the sea and the sky. Only the Iligoynes, the two gods are Kaptan and Maguyen.
Chapter 8 is entitled of their belief concerning the dead. The souls of those who are stabbed to death, eaten by crocodiles, or killed by arrows will go to heaven. They consider their deaths honorable. The Pintados say that the Mangolos, who are goblins, are eating their bowels, that's why they died. They will go to Sisiburanen, agad to a very high mountain in the island of Borneo. Yes, it is called the Maganitos. These are the sacrifices and offerings made to the god Sandaki. However, if the poor have no one to offer sacrifices to, they will remain in the inferno forever, and the god of those regions will either eat them or keep them in prison. Yes, they call it Balance. It is performed by a Bailana. They bury the dead with gold, cloth, and other valuable objects in their own houses. The people light fire near his houses, and during that night, armed men act as sentinels about his coffin. Those are all important parts in this chapter.
Chapter 9 focuses on the treats of slavery in the Filipinas island. The ranks, values of slaves, and their customs are written in here. Ayuways, Sumaranpok, and Tomatabans. The Ayuways are most thoroughly enslaved, and they work for 3 days for the master and 1 for themselves. Next, Tumaranpok, who live in their own house and work for 1 day for their master and free for themselves. Lastly, Tomatabans, who work in the house of the master only when there is a banquet or revel, and they bring small gifts as well as share in the drinking. He must give the master 10 chicobites of rice each year, which is equivalent to 1 fanega. Ayuway is worth 2 gold days of Labian Shan, equivalent to 12 pesos. Tumaranpok is worth 2 gold days of Labian Shan, equivalent to 12 pesos. And Tomataban is worth 1 day, equivalent to 6 pesos. When the slaves die, the masters take away all their property except for Tomatabans. See the Magwer or lordship. This kind of slavery gradually made its way among all the Indians living on the coast, but not among the Tinyanes. Yes, they are called the real Timagwas.
Chapter 10 introduces to us the marriage customs of islands. It includes all ranks of men. There are three: the datu or chiefs, timagwes or real timagwes, and slaves or oripon. For the chiefs, after the marriage is agreed upon, they go to bring the bride from the house of her parents. The dowry which the husband pays to the wife consists of 100 taels in gold, slaves, and jewels, which are equivalent to 100 pesos. And they have a grand ceremony. For the timagwes or the freemen, their marriage is accomplished when the pair unites and drinking piterilla from the same cup. Lastly, for the slaves, they only say, "Let us marry." They value friendship. Reconciliation happens by drawing blood from the arms of both parties and each tasting the blood of another, placed in a shell, sometimes mixed with a little wine. They had witches and sorcerers as their physicians. They also offer sacrifices and invoke certain demons. Yes. When the married man goes to war during their absence, the women do not work. They also divided a year into 12 months, but only naming 7 because the remaining months do not include any work in the field. They are lunar months. These are all the beliefs and customs, especially in marriage.
Chapter 11 is entitled, which treats of the rites and ceremonies observed by the Moros in the vicinity of Manila and their special conditions. It centers on Batala, the deity whom the Moros worship. There are also anitos, sacrifices, business partnerships, and laws governing killing, stealing, and adultery. The anitos. They will summon a Catalonan, the same as Vailan, among the Pintados, and they will offer sacrifices, requesting from the Anito to whatever the people may desire. It's because, according to the natives, no one could ever speak to Batala because he is living in the skies. There are 10 to 12, but only one richest among them is obeyed. Yes, but the giving of dowry. However, if the man contradicts the woman's desire, break his pledge, and annuls the marriage, he would lose the dowry and she should retain it free from him. If the wife left the husband, she is obliged to return him the dowry. If she committed adultery and her husband left her, she should return him double the amount of the dowry. If the wife left the husband to marry another, the second husband is obliged to repay the first husband the dowry which the latter gave the woman and pay a fine for more or less the amount as the judge should order to give him. If the husband is a chief and he is caught on the act of adultery, he will have the right to punish both of them to death. Anything more than 4 taels or 20 pesos is a serious offense. If he stole 4 taels or below, he must return the gold and he will be sentenced at the will of the judge to pay up fine and money. However, if he stole more than 4 taels, he is subject to slavery. If the gold was stolen, the amount of a kati or more than 1 pound of gold, the penalty would be death, or the environment of the culprit and his children and all in the household will be enslaved. If one went to traffic with the money of the two, and while on the trading journey, he is captured by enemies, the other must go on ransom or to his partner with the half of the ransom price agreed upon. It rules that he who killed the other must die. If the dead man was a timagwa, the penalty is death by those who are proven murderers. But if he begged for mercy, he will be a slave. After the sentence, the culprit may choose either death or slavery. If the man killed was a chief, the entire village where he was killed will all become slaves. Those who will be guilty would be put to death.
The natives, as referred to in the documentation, are called Indios, or low-class people who reside in their originating land by the foreign explorers of the Spaniards' period. The laws governing the islands of the Philippines are clearly in favor of the Spaniards and are prejudicial to the natives. These promulgated rules are also discriminatory against women because of the superiority of gender that is leaning towards the unjust system imposed. These prejudicial laws and oppressive government systems that were done in these times are not new, and governance is faced by the people today. The societal narrative that sheds light on the uproar of oppression is nothing new and is still in the status quo. One of the Pintadas Islands' beliefs was that virginity is not an issue when it comes to marriage. In our context today, women who have had sexual intercourse with another party before marriage are gravely judged and are called names that invalidate them. Society has perceived that a pure and valuable woman does not enter into sexual activity to be able to satisfy her husband. This is a macho-fascist mindset that cancels women, which contributes to the fact that they are seen as sexual objects of men. Notwithstanding, society is quite adjusting, and people are becoming more open-minded about this topic. In addition to the feudal times, men were also granted the right to immediately kill their wives if they were caught in the act of adultery. As opposed to before, the state now provides laws, legal remedies, and due processes to be taken upon in case of matters like infidelity. Today, under Article 333 of the Revised Penal Code, adultery is punishable for up to 6 years. Article 247 of the Revised Penal Code states that any legally married person who, having surprised his spouse in the act of committing sexual intercourse with another person, shall kill any of them or both of them in the act or immediately thereafter, or shall inflict upon them any serious physical injury, shall suffer the penalty of destierro. While it is true that we have advanced in terms of civilization, this specific law is proof that the feudal frame of mind has yet to be extinguished from our current system. They also believed that having many children will cause poverty to the family. Modern families, even those with abounding riches, usually have fewer household members. Even husbands and wives with no children are considered family. The progressive outlook about working extensively besides procreating is widely normalized in our world. However, as low-income families grow in numbers, they are often pictured as visualization of poverty due to lack of family planning. With this particular knowledge, the Pintadas and their family norms are being brought up to the current.